This is Test Case Scenario with me, your host, Jason Baum. This podcast is the definitive hub for knowledge and stories in the software testing and development communities. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button and let's dive straight into the episode. Today, we're going to be talking about every experience counts, ensuring quality across the SDLC. I'm Jason Baum. I'm the Senior Director of DevRel for Sauce Labs. I've been here for a few years, host of the Test Case Scenario podcast, and very excited. Here's what we're going to cover. What are the costs of software failure? Why is it so challenging to produce quality? Why integrate test across the SDLC? And how do you deliver a seamless user experience? And I'm really excited about this panel that we have today. So let's start with Veronika, shall we?
Hello, everyone. Really excited to be here today talking about the topic I've been passionate about for the last 10 years at least. My name is Veronika. I'm a senior manager in Salesforce, and I manage a team of quality engineers who are responsible to overlook the entire testing strategy for the mobile portfolio. It's quite a few mobile apps where we involve and engage with the development teams, and from test plan review perspective to reviewing automation strategies, releasing and discussing rollout strategies. And overall, just responsible for quality bi-weekly releases of Salesforce mobile app. So again, I'm very excited to be here because the quality is one of the biggest passion that I have, and I just want to share some of my perspectives today. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, Veronika. Chris?
My name is Chris Wallander. I'm Taxwell's principal SDET and test automation architect. I've been in the business for, a little over 15 years at this stage. Primarily, my focus at the moment is analysis of enterprise SDLCs, building automation frameworks for them, performing enablement for the entire SDLC in general. Absolutely love that I'm here today. Thank you for the invite. Looking forward to having some awesome conversations.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. And Chris and Veronika, we really appreciate your being here. Next is Marcus Merrell, who happens to be my co-host, one of my co-hosts on Test Case Scenario. So really excited to be able to do Test Case Scenario in this format with Marcus. And I always tease him, where in the world is he today? Because Marcus has called in from all over the place, including, I think, his car, which I'm not really sure I'm supposed to even say out loud. But
it
Marcus, yeah, the pantry. Is that where you are today?
It was hands-free.
Oh, hands-free. Okay.
I'm just at home today. This is home.
Marcus, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Marcus. Thanks for having me on. I think my number is 23. 23 years I've been in testing, and really happy to be here. I was a user a long time of Sauce, and I made the switch to work for the vendor because I really believe that we have a unique place carved out in the industry to help people understand and take advantage of quality in a way that I think is kind of unique. I'm also on the Selenium, kind of the board of directors there for the project itself. So been all around, done everything, and hopefully I can lend some insights. But mostly I'm happy to be here listening to Chris and Veronika.
Let's get started. Let's get this. It's going to be a very conversational format for you today. We're just kind of going to discuss the topics, and you get to listen as if you're a fly on the wall. And we're all friends here, so expect the conversation to be pretty casual and open. So let's dive right in to our first question. What are the costs of software failures? And here's where we get to talk about everything that went wrong, that could go wrong, and it makes me think of something recently that went wrong, but I'd love to dive in and just hear from you, Veronika, first. What are the costs of software failures?
Let me just start by saying I'm the user, right? We're all users of some kind of software, right? How do we feel about quality? At what point do we give up? Yeah, there's, of course, the perspective of B2B, where businesses buy software and their users have to use it. They don't have choice. But many users like us, end users, have choice. And until what point we're going to keep using the app? And then one more perspective I want to say, I think it takes a lot of effort to build the reputation in the market. And it takes one small mistake or big mistake, like what we've experienced recently, to lose all of it, to lose trust in the software. So yes, that's why I've been very passionate about quality. I've been looking for all the ways how we can improve every touch points between development team and quality teams. What can we do? How can we find issues early? How can we produce a software that our customers will enjoy? Let me just start by that.
Yeah. Chris, when do customers walk away?
It depends a lot on the industry. Sometimes it could be one sufficiently bad experience. It could be 3 or 4 smaller experiences. And it'll depend a lot on whether or not there's some extenuating circumstances, like say there's an industry monopoly. Those can sometimes cause people to stick around. Say you really, really like a particular brand of pizza. You might deal with a lot additional guff just to get that pizza.
And we just did a survey, actually, Sauce Labs. Every experience matters. You could find it on the website. And I believe the number was 4 to 5 times, 4 to 5 bad experience before a customer walks away, which seems like a lot to me. Why do you think people have this blasé attitude towards their software quality? And what have we done wrong? Because that just seems like, I don't know, I believe very much in quality of my work, and the product is that end product of my work. And so if the quality's poor, we're not prioritizing that. And why do we think people are, we've done wrong, I think, by people if they're willing to accept 4 to 5 times? I don't know. How do you all feel about that?
I am not the person who likes to make changes. I was using the old experience of my own platform, Salesforce, until I couldn't use it anymore. I just want to stay with what I'm familiar with. I don't have time to learn something new quickly in terms of experience, right? Like some people are hesitant to make changes. I think that's why they they give more chances. Maybe they don't want to research what else can be out there. Sometimes, as Chris mentioned, there is just no other options that are obvious until you do research. I think that's one of the reasons why people are given so many opportunities. And we should really take advantage of that. We shouldn't give 4 or 5 times, right? We should do it right from the beginning. But yeah, that's my take. One of the perspectives I could share why I think people stay with the software that doesn't work very well.
Yeah, that kind of matches up with my personal experiences as well. The pizza comment I made, literally, we tried as a family like 10 times to order this pizza in the span of like one night. My wife finally got it to work an hour after we were trying to deliver it. And the only reason we kept trying was you couldn't get it anywhere else in town. But if you make that at a bigger scale, like say we just had the, thing that shall not be named happen globally. Some of those people were already in airports having troubles and difficulties. They couldn't really switch right then if they were having a bad time. So that kind of goes to your point, Marcus, on being a little captive. If there's no other options, or if you don't want to change, you're stuck.
And that's the individual's cost, your customer's cost. What about the company's cost? And let's talk about that from that global outage at an that outage at an epic scale. Sure is going to cost a lot, not just brand reputation, but money. What other impacts of software failures can be at that? And when that happens, sorry, I was jumping around a bit, but when that happens, are people going to finally wake up? Is this going to be the incident that wakes people up?
Money lost, lives lost, depending on what it is. Maybe you have a plane fall out of the sky, so to speak. Speaking from my own industry, if we have a bad enough gotcha, somebody's tax refund could be messed up. That could cause, damages to somebody maybe getting medication on time. It could cause financial problems. It can cause all kinds of weird gotchas. And that's just a financial industry in general, let alone, construction equipment messing up, military equipment messing up. Those types of things cost people lives. That's a bad deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always talk about the blast radius of an issue like that. Like, who else is going to be affected by when you have a problem like that? And I think that in the case of that big one, there were such little knock-on effects, like ripples in a pool. You can't. It's hard to imagine. There were some issues where company who's at the end of their fiscal quarter or who's trying to do a proof of concept in order to be able to get a deal over the line. Well, suddenly the IT department that's trying to figure it out is being affected by this issue, and it's all hands on deck, and you can't get the deals closed that quarter. And that's not going to get published. We're not going to hear about that anywhere else. It's just this invisible amount of money. That's why I called it the 11-figure outage.
Yeah. And the next question is somewhat aligned to this first one. Why is it so challenging to produce quality software?
One of the main reasons, which fortunately not happening in Salesforce, is just not budgeting enough, not prioritizing quality, not having enough resources to work on that. Since it's not something we experience in Salesforce, I'm not going to comment on that, but I'm going to comment on why is it challenging in Salesforce, even when we had budgeted our quality engineers. I think one of the main reasons is not thinking about all the edge cases and architecture from the beginning. I think this is where it all starts. If developer did not think of use cases, edge cases, architecture from the beginning, develops code that works partially, then down the line, testers find issues, and then it goes back to fixing all the issues and patching all the kind of tech debt that already created. Then developer might decide, oh, okay, now I see that I did it wrong. Okay, let me go back now and let me redo it. And we go through second cycle. Okay, let me think about all the edge cases. Okay, I think I should have gone, and architected it this way. Then it will take care of all those other tests or use cases. So I think this was one of the main reasons where quality and testing came into the picture much later than it's supposed to be. So this is where the biggest shift happened in Salesforce in my org around 4 years ago, which I'll be happy to share maybe a little bit later. So yeah, I think just not focusing on quality from the beginning of the life cycle, that's where challenges start.
Yeah. Chris, why don't we care about quality? Why is it so challenging?
Oh, man. So some things I've seen over the years, obviously, way back when they had the iron triangle, the quality, speed, cost kind of concept, we started seeing companies really lean into, well, if I can get this out based on my fiscal quarter sooner, I can coop my costs faster. And there's this meme going around where it's this kid trying to find time to play video games, and he ends up taking sleep out of this Jenga pile to put it in. And I always kind of thought that might have been a lot of what's happening here. A couple of years back, I was working with a different company, and they kind of had that same program. They came in, they brought in a whole bunch of people to supplement their quality. They had this issue where they couldn't easily communicate their requirements over to this new group. And if you look around the industry right now, you see this happening all over the place. Hey, the QA group just got let go. We brought in a bunch of contractors to try to supplement them to save money. But did the requirements survive the communication? That's assuming the requirements were good to begin with. So when we think about these requirements, one thing I'll see is like a separate segregation of user-facing requirements and like technical requirements, where you start getting into security, usability, non-functional requirements. See that happening a lot as well. So as the complexity of the software comes up, the more of those that can be missed leads to higher losses in quality by the time it gets to the end user. Good question would be like, hey, did you do your Americans with Disability Act testing? Did you develop for it? Did you think about it? Did that fall off? What about, some of our states have specific laws we have to consider. Like, did we consider that law when we wrote the requirements? Definitely seen that play a major part in the past couple of years.
There's actually a comment in the chat that I wanna read out loud because it actually was sort of a question we were going to ask later, or hinting at a question that we were going to ask as a follow-up. And perhaps it's because quality is seen as solely QA's responsible rather than a shared responsibility of the entire team, which we're kind of all saying. But that goes back to a question we were kind of toying with about asking, and I'll just ask it now. Whose responsibility is quality?
So ideally speaking, right, if we're following the paperwork that's out there, the industry talks, should be everybody in the company.
Hmm.
If you're releasing that, you're putting your name on it, you should be proud of what you released. I know from like my perspective at Taxwell, I want to be proud of the software we release every year. So if that's not good quality, not only is that going to cause people problems, I'm releasing software I'm not proud of. Now, that being said, I have seen situations where, you have your very typical QA dev siloing. You'll have the dev develop, QA block, but it's a statement of see something, say something. So as that's moving through the entire chain, everybody's talking about it. Who's speaking up? Are they not speaking up? And if so, why not?
That's really interesting. Veronika, what do you think?
I believe, and not me, my entire team, and even product owners believe that quality is a feature. We cannot deliver software that doesn't work. It's absolutely everyone's responsibility. I'll give you an example. Mobile Salesforce app is a hybrid app. It has a lot of web views and native elements. While mobile teams, our developers from my org that I support, develop those native pages, the entire company is building all other web pages. Basically, there are core engineers who build some pages on the web that works on mobile. We bring it to mobile. Yes, there's a lot of hot potato happening there. Like, oh, that's not our bug, that's your bug. We take pride in what we deliver to the App Store. At the end, it's a mobile app that is delivered. We could keep saying, oh, this is not our bug, and many times it's not our bug, but we take every single step we can to make sure that our partner teams test their software inside of our mobile app. We create the capabilities in automation, processes, sign-offs, criteria, all kinds of conversations that are happening where we step in and say, okay, this is how it shows on mobile. It doesn't look right, whatever it is. There are bugs. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about processes. How are we going to be testing it? So this is taking ownership. It doesn't matter who owns it, who tests that, who delivers that. It's important that the product works. And internally, we take care of all these partnership conversations and processes around that. I think it goes back to, yes, everyone is responsible. I think it's very important that product owners support, and it's important for them that quality is important. And again, I'm fortunate that our PMs are very, very supportive. They say, okay, we've been dealing with a lot of escalations. We spend our evenings dealing with emergency releases. Where we step back, what are we missing here? I'm okay to have next few releases are trust releases that happen many, many times. Let's focus on stabilizing our quality. So yes, quality is a feature. We cannot not prioritize that because nothing else matters. No matter how much we deliver, if it doesn't work, it doesn't bring any value to our customers.
Something I've been thinking about as you both answer the question is, have you ever worked at a company or know someone who worked at a company that had a chief quality officer? Someone whose primary role was to ensure that quality was maintained throughout the process?
A C-level, no, but a director level, yes.
Do you think that's needed?
From what I've seen, I would probably venture yes. So on one hand, we say, yeah, everybody should own quality, but at some point, somebody or some buddies has to do the work of, and this one's kind of an interesting one, measuring quality. and I shouldn't necessarily say measure, as I should probably say reporting on the state of the application. So after release, you might have like a site reliability engineering team doing it, but before release, how can you talk about what the state of your application actually is? How can you, and I kind of go back to quality assurance, how can you assure your company that you're going with quality? So typically your standard QA might be going out there creating test cases, a test manager if you have one, or a manager doing an equivalent role might be like summarizing for reporting, bringing it up to people that maybe don't have the technical expertise or even the subject matter expertise to talk the jargon, and bringing it up into reports. So what I've seen in the past is typically this individual would be in charge of monitoring the quality processes, of putting together the reports and advising the company in general on those quality best practices.
Yeah, what do you think, Veronika?
I agree. I think having ownership, but more frontline that's what I would support. I don't think there should be C-level quality, I don't know, director or owner, because I think at the end, engineering lead should own both development and quality. Development doesn't bring any value if it doesn't work, right? So it should be single person responsible, and it shouldn't be a quality director responsible for that. It should be engineering. Engineering is both, in my opinion. And I want to give an example. We did have a leadership that were rolling up to quality, and one was for dev, but it ended up not working because devs were delivering some not very good quality code, and then quality will start finding things. So it wasn't working together. We decided it has to be single person responsible for quality. But in terms of what Chris said, that's why my team exists. While we have hybrid engineers where everyone is responsible for development and testing, my team focuses on customer perspective there, customer use cases, automation of those use cases, advocating for practices across the company. So there's space for both, I would say. But from leadership perspective, high leadership, it should be engineering, because quality is a feature. I'll keep repeating that message.
All right. Next question. Why integrate test across the SDLC? I think we kind of just covered it, but let's tackle this specifically. Chris, you want to take it first? Or sorry, we're actually looking at Salesforce's mobile testing pyramid. So Veronika, why don't you just run away with this?
Yeah, I don't want to take too much time, get into the details of this pyramid. It's pretty common one where you test unit tests first, right? And then UI tests, business scenario, performance, and top of the pyramid is manual. And you can think of it as the less expensive one you would find on the bottom of pyramid. And then most expensive is, I would say, production, but one before that is through manual testing. I want to highlight one thing that I want to kind of focus on in this slide is how often the tests are run. This is a small bubble you could see. And I think most important, what I want to communicate here is the continuously running those tests. We don't wait for feature development to complete it or all the planned work done for release and we start testing. We test every single build. We continuously test every single build, and we have to be very smart about what we test. If those are endless automation tests that flap all the time and we take so much calories in looking through failures every night, I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that. We want to have a good set of tests that are stable, and that includes automation and includes manual testing. Quick example, we had a regression test suite with 600-700 test cases. It took us weeks to execute those. And then I was like, by the time we get to high priority test cases again, it's 3 weeks later, we're going to miss P0 bugs. I'm like, that doesn't work. I need to do something about it. I went and personally handpicked every test case for the smoke suite, knowing in the last 5 years what are the areas that usually break, what are the new features, what are stable areas are, and kind of legacy features. Based on that, I put 100 test cases in my suite, and we executed it every 2 days. Basically, every build would go through this high priority functionality, included edge cases. We were catching P0, P1 bugs much sooner. That's from manual perspective. But I think the highlight here is that we need to continuously test. We cannot wait. We need to find issues earlier. We can address this early. And I want to end with one more kind of idea and perspective I have. Why most of the developers pick their profession? Because they want to build something exciting and new that solves some world issues, whatever that is, medical, social, whatever that is, right? Every developer, from what I've known, they want to deliver that work, right? They want to deliver something exciting. Now AI is everywhere. Everyone wants to work on that. Instead of doing that, if you don't really put quality from the beginning of your development, you end up just going and fixing all those bugs, redoing the code that you did over and over again, producing new bugs, and so on. So this is the major kind of motivation when I bring some quality processes. Let's do it earlier. Let's focus. Let's spend more time here. Then down the line, you will deliver it once and in good quality. Then you can move on to the next project. If you ask me, how do you motivate other parts of organization if quality is important? This is my main message. You can stop focusing so much, spending so much time on bug fixes. So, yeah.
Just love everything about what you just said. Chris, I'd love your feedback.
I'm in the same boat. If you're not continuously testing, it becomes exponentially more expensive when a defect happens. A couple of years ago, I was doing some research on NIST, National Institute of Science and Technology, and they ran some reports. They found, say, hypothetically speaking, from the time a requirement comes in to the time it goes out, say maybe all those personnel, all of the processes, the tools, maybe you spend $100,000 to get that requirement out. By time that defect happens and has to go all the way back through that cycle again, you could have almost 90 times the cost in our current situation. That information is widely available out on NIST. They run that report every couple of years, queuing up the different orgs. It's a pretty good read, but it's a little dry, but the information kind of speaks for itself.
I wrote an article recently that was on DevOps.com called "Shift Left is Dead," and it's dramatic, but I think shift left is dead? No. And this was regarding shift left testing. But I think that, I know that developers have so much on their plates these days. We did a survey that said 77% of them who were participating in the survey said they had something on their plate that was new that they didn't have before, that they didn't have any experience doing. And I would think testing has just continued to increase their workload more so than it ever had, especially if they're going to do it right, which many of them don't. They skip processes and bugs get out. Bugs are going to get out anyway, but especially when the workload on developers has just increased. I think, unfortunately, when we talk about shift left testing and continuous testing, it's, again, often in a vacuum, and then we add the people component to it. And companies that have eliminated QAs completely from the process, I've seen it work. I don't think that was the intent when we were originally talking about DevOps and shift left testing. God. I think QAs were supposed to be part of the development process from the start, rather than being completely eliminated from it altogether.
The original conversations were about merging the logistical mindset of developers, the product mindset of product, that creative energy there, and the curiosity of the testers to try to bring that forward in the decision process as early as possible. When it comes to communicating with business leaders, how many people are realizing that their site reliability engineering, that monitoring aspect, is also a facet of quality and how those can be interchanged. and how that plays into what was initially the shift left conversation, or spreading the quality across the entire SDLC.
What do you think, Veronika?
In our case, it's all managed by one group, by my group. We're also responsible for post-production monitoring because I manage a release engineer who goes out and releases the app. So it's a little maybe unique case. We track those metrics while in beta still. So we make sure that we don't, until we reach what our thresholds are, we don't release, and we release it slowly to 1% and to 5% based on that. And then if our tracking is looking good, we continue. So in my case, it's a little bit unique.
It makes me think, do you think internal silos between teams can also cause these like issues?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not even a question. Over the years, multiple companies I've seen, as part of siloing, like between a dev and a QA might come up and say, hey, there's this issue I found over here, as part of a requirement, or maybe just something they saw weird as part of user experience testing. Is this a bug? And maybe he won't get an answer because of that siloing. I don't know. Go talk to XYZ instead. Okay, do you not have an opinion on it? No. Or maybe you might have a situation where a QA as part of automation needs the application under testability to be modified. A lot of QA, they're usually kind of a little junior when it comes to application code development, but they may be real slick with script development, right? Well, no, there's no IDs out there, or there's no easy way to find this, or, the application changes every 6 days. So when they go to try to have those communications with other points, product, hey, I need your buy-in for the dev team to make this change, or automation's going to be brittle. It's going to be really flaky. It's not going to give you any value. If they're not talking to each other, if they're not chasing that down, that siloing definitely will introduce defects.
I see it a lot at like when I'm at the conferences and just conversations. There's so much siloing. And I think that it makes a lot of sense that would lead to quality issues. Veronika, Chris, this was amazing. We'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you for joining us on Test Case Scenario. Share your thoughts in the comments. We'll make sure to respond to each and every single one. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to keep in touch. If you missed our last episode, it's popping up on your screen right now. Go, click it. Until next time on Test Case Scenario.